All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Kat Lindquist. I am with Badass Red Dress Society, and we are here today with month 5 of 12 for our guided discussion group. We are taking a journey along to create our badass red dress life. So we've gone through several months where we've built a foundation. We are now in the process of looking at self-development. That's that internal piece of concepts that are really critical for us to bond and solidify within ourselves, including things around our belief systems. Today we're going to be talking about our internal GPS and building ourselves up so that as we move out into the world, we create our personal co-creations, and then our personal creations, and then we have our co-creations where we connect with other people, and then we will be learning about how to give back at the very end. So welcome. I'm so appreciative that you are here with us today. And I always start out with acknowledgments because it's important that we recognize the people that help support us. So the first person I'd like to thank is my husband, Mark. He is a co-creator in my process of both life and in Badass Red Dress Society. We're also creating Non-Monogamous Lifestyles Association together. And so there's a lot that we co-create on, and I very much appreciate all the input that he provides for me. And I'd also like to thank one of our members who provides this wonderful space for us to meet in. So thank you very much to our member. Yes, hi, thank you. And to everyone who is here today in our physical meetup, and to you who is in our virtual meetup. So thank you so much for being here today. So we're going to jump right in and get started with today's discussion. The concept is called our internal GPS. So just to kind of get started, what do you think of when you hear the term GPS?
I usually think of my navigator in my car.
Okay. Anything else?
Instructions on how to get somewhere.
Excellent.
When you talk about internal GPS, I think of like intuition.
Okay. Excellent. Right. Any other ideas? Okay. So we're going to start off and we're going to imagine that we are in a foreign city. Yay, we get to travel. So we're in a foreign city, place you've never been before. And you decide that there's a specific place that you want to get to. And how are you going to get there if you don't have a guidance system? So perhaps you might stumble across your destination as you kind of wander through the city. But you really don't know that you're going to reach your destination. You just are kind of wandering and taking a turn here and there. Oh, this looks good, maybe this is the right direction. But you really don't know. So there's a possibility you could still reach where you want to go, but the likelihood is that you're probably not. You're going to end up somewhere else, which may not be a bad thing, but it's not where you intended to go, not where you desired to go. Now, you could then ask somebody for directions. So now remember, you're in a foreign city, so there may be some communication issues. And if they're only giving you verbal directions, you're going to have to remember all the twists and turns, the turn left, turn right, go to this street. What's the name of that street? And how are you going to remember all those directions if you don't have a guidance system? You may still reach your destination. You may see some interesting things along the way. But do you think you're going to reach it? Maybe, maybe not. The next one is you could purchase a map or rent a navigation system. And that is going to give you that specific hard copy, turn by turn. This is where you want to go. So I am here, I want to go there, and it's going to tell me place by place, I turn here, I go here, and I'm going to reach my destination. And that's exactly what we want, right? We want to reach that destination. But yet, it's going to give us the most direct route. So it may not give us the scenic route. It may take us specifically where we want to go, and that's a really great thing because that's where our intention is. But there still may be something that we miss along the way. So the best way to do this is to hire a personal guide. So having someone who knows the city, who can communicate with you in your language, who can take you on that route, which is going to show you all those different things along the way, all the side streets, all the back alleys, all the amazing culture that you might miss if you get on the expressway and you go from point A to point B, so that you can see that one thing that you really wanted to see. You're still going to end up there, and you're still going to see what you want to see, but you had a much richer experience along the way because you had that personal guide who was able to show you things that were off the beaten path. So if you had a choice, which way would you choose to travel? Would you wander aimlessly and hope you get where you want?
That sounds like me. No.
And it could be.
No.
It could
A
be.
guide sounds best.
A guide sounds best. Perhaps. Everybody's different, right? Everybody wants a different experience. So really, the choice is up to you. There is no right or wrong answer. It's truly the way that you choose to live your life. But the options are there. And sometimes we forget that we have the option of hiring that guide or of renting that GPS system rather than wandering aimlessly. And when we travel, we tend to think about those kinds of things, but we forget that in our daily life, we're traveling on a journey as well.
Hmm. You know, in those old West movies, even the cavalry needed a guide.
They did. And they scouted ahead, and they blazed the trail.
Yeah.
So that they could come back and guide you along the way and point out, we don't want to go there. We want to go here. Oh, look at over there. Avoid that. That's right.
But sometimes with a guide, I mean, like I've traveled, in particular, I was in Cambodia. And when you're traveling with a guide, it is great, but they also have their preconceptions of what you want to see as an American.
Sure.
And so there was a struggle with my boyfriend and I. We were like, and our guide, no, we want to go where you go, you know, and he was uncertain about, well, what should I show them? And in the end, he really did treat us more like not a tourist. And sometimes if you could get your guide to take you other places, I think the journey is more rich. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So, because sometimes a guide will, like in China, they only take you to shopping places and what they want you to see. It's very regimented. And you want to see behind the scenes.
Right. So it's important how you choose your guide and the specific guide that you choose.
Is Cambodia near Houston?
The Cambodian market is.
So as you embrace your authentic life and the life that you're choosing to now live, it's important to understand that you may be entering a foreign land, because as we grow, as we expand, as we bring new thoughts, new ideas into our experience, we are entering a land that we are unfamiliar with. And especially when we're entering an alternative life. And so these new thought processes, they're exciting, but it's like, how do I navigate this? And you're also learning how to shift your thinking. So when a lot of the things that we've talked about is learning how to understand that there's universal forces that are at work that a lot of people are not fully aware of. There's things around the law of attraction and the law of how the universe works with us. And so as you're learning all these new things, it's important to understand that you have an internal GPS system that is your guide. And that it takes deliberate time, attention, and focus for you to create the life that you desire to live. A lot of us live on default. I mean, we talked a little earlier about how we kind of move into a life and we have work and we have friends that are from work, but then it's, when you leave that, where are you? You've devoted your life and your energy into a place which fulfilled you for a certain amount of yourself, but not fully. And so when you leave that, then it's hard to understand, well, who am I and where am I going and how do I create the life that's for me and bring the things into my life that I want, not fit myself into someone else's idea or life or belief. And so this internal GPS system that we have is one that every single person has. And it's not something that I can, I'm not here to tell you what yours is or how it speaks to you, but to understand the concepts of how it works for you. And yet, as women, a lot of us are taught that we are not to think inside, that we're to look outside ourselves. We're to look to our parents. We're to look to our mates. We're to look to society to tell us all the things that we're supposed to know and do and be. And one of the benefits that we get from listening to ourselves is that it is that satellite, it is that guide that has gone ahead, that sees it all and knows where we want to go and is going to take us where we want to go. But yet, we have to be able to know that it's there and trust that it's there.
I think a lot of people don't even understand themselves well enough to know what they should be doing.
And that's true. That is so true. And that's what we're hoping to build through this series is understanding ourselves, getting to know ourselves, loving ourselves, trusting ourselves, that we are all that we are, that we don't need to be completed by someone else, that we don't have to be told what to do by anyone else, that it is all right inside here if we learn how to listen to it. And we learn how to tap into that. And that's the whole concept of today, is really finding that internal GPS system.
And the stuff that other people are telling you is one thing I say to my mom, that may be right for you.
Yes.
Yes. Doesn't mean it's right for me.
Exactly. And
so they're giving you bad information probably 90% of the
That's
time.
right,
It doesn't work for you.
That's right. But yet we are taught that we're supposed to listen to our parents. We're supposed to listen to the boss. We're supposed to listen, but that's what society says.
Yeah.
And
And
that's
they're
what
wrong.
we're learning how to say no to.
Right.
We're learning how to say no to that and turn inward and trust this.
Yeah, they're
trust
all wrong.
you. Trust you. So there are 3 specific elements that make up your GPS system, just like a navigation system. So in a navigation system, there are 3 triangulation points. There is where you are, where you want to go, and the satellite, which puts the 2 of those together. So in our internal system, what do you think those 3 elements might be? So think about that.
The first 2 I would think are the same. And the third would be, how am I going to get there for me? Where I am currently, where I would like to go, or what I'd like to accomplish, and my plan.
There's 3 specific elements.
Well, one of them is, I think, all the things that we've learned are part of the guide of where we're going to go. So it's the environmental influences we've had, and the cultural and the educational, all these things come together and sort of show us a way. But I'm not sure about the other 2 things. That's more like who's the guide.
Okay. Any other thoughts? So when I think about an internal GPS system, there are 3 elements within me that indicate kind of these pieces. The first one are my thoughts, my feelings,
Actions.
and my words. So my thoughts are kind of where I am. They indicate to me, where do I stand? My words are where I end up, because that's what's manifested. When my thoughts come into here, they come out here.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's that manifestation of the internal to the external. So it's from where I am to where I want to be. The feelings are the satellite. They're the ones that are telling you exactly where your energy is and how to figure out within you the thoughts that have come in. What do they mean? And then as you feel what those thoughts are, those then become the words that come out and indicate where I'm going.
Mm.
Thoughts on that?
No, I'm
Let that
just,
sink in a little bit.
processing it all.
So, in taking those three elements, we've talked a little bit about how there's two parts to ourselves. So there's the physical part, there's our physical body, our brain, the physical piece. And there's then what we call the authentic self. That's the internal part of you, the essence, the spirit, the soul, the non-physical part that makes you who you are beyond the vessel that contains it. So when we think about our physical self, think about your body. How do thoughts manifest? How do thoughts come in? Where do thoughts come from in your physical body?
From the brain?
In the brain. And Roxanne, you mentioned a little bit about environment.
Mm-hmm.
So they come from environment, outside us.
Mm-hmm. And that could include parents or whatever,
Mhm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
What are ways that we discern our trajectory in the world? So we talked a little bit earlier about judgment and about how we view one another.
Mm-hmm.
So what's another word or another concept of that?
Perception.
Or perceptions?
Mm.
Our
Good
beliefs?
choice.
Our belief system? And then when we think about our authentic self, we think about that internal piece of us. How does that, when we have thoughts that come from this side of us, how does that manifest? What are things that when we talk about, oh, I had that feeling, right?
Gut feeling?
Sometimes,
Well,
you know.
Sometimes you don't know who your authentic self is.
But she's always there.
Yeah.
And she's always speaking to you. It's whether you can hear her or not.
I think you feel more comfortable in authentic self. You're not fighting with other forces. You feel like, okay, there's a level just of comfort, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
when I'm following
You're in
authentic
harmony,
self.
Right? This
When you
is
There's
where
no
you feel
balance,
that
you know
you're
you're
in
doing the right
harmony with
stuff.
yourself.
Yeah, yeah. This is where the other things aren't a struggle. If you look at decisions, you're like, okay, I'm comfortable with this or
Right.
whatever.
So a lot of times we'll call this our intuition.
Mm-hmm.
You were saying that the physical self and the authentic self are kind of separate. But is it
They're
not
separate and
possible?
together at the same time.
Yeah.
Because they work together. Our physical self and our authentic self are all housed right here.
Yeah.
But this part of ourself is also linked out there.
Yeah.
It's also linked to the universe. It's linked to the universal force of energy. Even though our physical body stands here, that authentic self is here and outside of us.
Mm-hmm.
It's there in the universe. It brings in all that universal energy so that we can expand, we can grow, we can learn in a feeling of harmony rather than, like you said, that feeling of struggle or discord or struggle. What's the other word? Like it's not as easy when we're living out of this mostly here. When we incorporate this and really tune into this is where what I call the magic happens.
But I think authentic self can definitely help take over physical self and become, I think you can tip the scales. I feel like that's where I'm at. Like, and then it starts to manifest itself in physical.
In the physical. You nailed it.
Yeah.
You nailed it. Absolutely. So it's figuring out how we get out of our heads and how we tap more into this. Okay. And part of that is when we go back to one of the very first things that we talked about was awareness. So once we become aware that these two exist and that this is where we want to live in the authentic self, then we start to become aware of our thoughts, our feelings, and our words and how those impact everything in our life. Those are the three coordinates. When you take those three elements, those are the first three elements of everything that gets manifested in your life. Everything. Everything from your relationships, your financial situation, your health, your everything. Everything is impacted by thoughts, feelings, and words first, more than anything else. So, how do you think we can tap into our authentic self? What are ways that people use to connect here?
Well, kind of coming off of what you said about the harmony, I think that if we find ourselves where we feel harmonious, then we're probably in the right area. And that does happen sometimes. You can just say, hey, this is really where I need to be and doing what I need to be doing. Yeah. And you can feel it. You can tell you really are there. And
right. And then
that doesn't happen all the time. But
we can make it happen all the time. So what are ways that people use to tap more into that? Because you're right. I mean, it can happen kind of by default, where we stumble upon something that makes us feel really good or happy, or a situation, or just a feeling that, all is right in my world. But how do we sustain that? And how do we deliberately create that every day for ourselves?
Marijuana?
For me, to tap into that, I need quiet time and alone time, and I like to spend time in nature. So even if you are just you take a walk or you walk your dog or something, but I had heard a quote, someone said, you can't help but be changed by spending time in nature. And I think that's true, because everything else, the outside environment is now quiet.
Yeah.
And there's just less kind of attacking you when you have peace and quiet, like you said, you ride your bike or whatever. So you just have some quiet time. And alone, I think a lot of people don't spend time by themselves at all. I think that's a huge issue.
Absolutely.
So even if you just go sit in a park or,
Yeah. There's some other ways that people would tap into their authentic self.
They meditate or they yoga.
Yoga's kind of like meditation.
The key, and you got it right here, is to quiet your mind, quiet the brain,
and the outside environment,
Let it go, because if you're focused here, you can't focus here, and
you can't hear
there's
that.
a lot of noise.
You can't hear authentic self.
Hear this because she's quiet. She's quiet and she's settled. And so it takes us really slowing down, clearing the mind, clearing the environment. Like you said, go for a walk. Take yourself out of your normal everyday area of what you do. Even if it's, and I recommend 15 to 20 minutes a day. That's all it takes. 15 to 20 minutes. I do my meditation in the morning, first thing when I wake up. So I do a guided meditation for 10 minutes, and then I do a 15-minute of quieting. So it's before I even get out of bed, and that helps me to center during the day. And then what I find is if I can do some of this at least a few times a week, where I can go, I can ground, I can be out in nature, I can take a walk, I can go to the beach, just kind of get out, be alone. That continues that centering. For me, music is also a very powerful connector. And I can find sometimes I'll listen to a piece of music and I get this welling up and this overflowing joy that happens, and I cry. Just like literally tears of joy just streaming down my face. And it's hard to contain because it's just connection. And I know when I've connected. I can feel when I've connected. And it usually comes up with tears. That's the way my connection is happening right now. And part of it is because it's still new for me. It's still new for me. And every time that I get that connection, it's like, oh, yes, this is what I want to feel. This is how good self feels. And eventually I will get to a point where it won't surprise me and it won't overwhelm me every single time it happens, because that will become my new normal. And that is our goal, is that when we are grounded, when we are connected, that is our new normal. And we are living the authentic self all the time. Excellent. So thoughts, this is how we deal with thoughts. So we want to quiet the noise. We want to quiet the brain. We want to allow the thoughts that come from here. Have you ever kind of been in that dream state where you're quiet, you're just kind of listening, and then all of a sudden you think of something? And you think, oh, wow, that was such a great idea. That's your authentic self speaking. Sometimes I hear voices. I know that sounds weird, but I'll hear a little voice, and it will, you actually hear it in your head, and it will say a word or a phrase, or you'll get that feeling of, oh, I want to go over there. I want to go over there and see what's over there. Oh, I need to call this person. I need to get together with that person. I need to do this, that, or the other. Those are those impulses. That's your authentic self speaking to you.
I hear that sometimes. It says, go eat some chocolate.
Hey, and you know what? If it does, then go do it. Then you should follow through with it, because you don't know what's going to happen when you go and get that chocolate. Something else is going to spark. And you might meet somebody along the way. You might just sit and savor that. And as you savor it, a new thought comes to you.
Actually, chocolate does make people feel better.
It does. Yeah.
They've proven that.
And so I also sometimes will keep a notebook handy so that when I start having those thoughts, I can jot them down and I don't have to focus on them and just let them go and allow the rest of that meditation to continue on to see what other thoughts may come. Because I don't necessarily want to lose that thought, but I don't want to fixate on it in the moment. Because once you start fixating on it, then you've kind of dropped the meditation and you're now kind of in action mode. And so that's how we work with thoughts. So the second part is our feelings. So our feelings are kind of that satellite indication. They tell us where we are energetically. And we have hundreds of words that we can use to describe feelings. But I've broken it down into 22 different words, 22 different thoughts or concepts of emotion, from high to low. And so when you think about how you feel, what are some thoughts of low feelings? What would be some words? Okay. Depression. What are other low words? Low energy words.
Bummed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What else?
Drained.
Draining. Yeah, that's right.
Worn out.
Mm-hmm.
What comes under medium words? Words that maybe aren't super low, but that aren't quite so high.
More neutral type things.
Yeah.
So.
Mm, good choice.
Bored.
Yeah, good choice. Too.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What would be some high words?
Ecstasy or ecstatic, however you want to use it.
Some other high words.
Happy.
Excited.
Oh yeah, excited. That's good.
You think about one of the highest words. What's one of the highest words?
Awesome.
Awesome. That is a good choice.
What else? Think about emotions. Think about the things that we talk about when we use words to express different types of emotions. What would be a high emotional word?
Some people say they're flying.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I'm not sure how, but
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. So I have a little handout for everybody. Just a couple for you. So when we think of different emotions, we have joy,
Mm. Oh, empowered. That's probably what you were looking for.
freedom, and love
Mm-hmm. That is
are at
good.
the top.
Freedom's good.
We have
Those are good
depression,
choices.
fear, and powerlessness
Mm.
at the bottom. And in between, you can see the range from hatred, revenge, anger, discouragement, overwhelmment, frustration, boredom. You got that one?
I guess we've
Hopeful,
all
optimism.
experienced all this stuff at some point.
And yeah, well, there's a range. You know,
Mhm.
everybody experiences a range. But one of the things to think about is where do you, when you look at this list, where do you think you generally fall? And that's a different place for everybody.
Mm.
But look at the list and kind of,
in the upper half for sure.
so some people would fall maybe in contentment, hopeful, optimism. I certainly was at a place during my marriage where I lived in discouragement and blame. And that was where I lived. That was my energetic point of attraction, where even though on the outside I could fake it and I could look happy and I could put the smiley face on, but in general, my energetic level was down at discouragement.
Mm.
And what we find is that when you want to move up the scale, if you think about a staircase, and if you're down at the bottom of the staircase, what's it going to take for you to get to the top?
Gonna take some energy.
Can you do it in one shot?
No, gonna have to
You
break it up into steps. And,
Got to go through the steps,
Mhm.
right? And maybe sometimes we can skip a couple steps. You know, we might be able to move from discouragement to doubt or even disappointment,
Mhm.
but I can't move from discouragement to optimism. That's too high.
Mhm.
That's too great a gap. So when we find ourselves down in some of those lower areas, it's not a bad thing. It's just an indication of where we are.
Mhm.
And when we can look at that and say, oh, you know, I am really angry. I am feeling so angry right now. Something happened. I am just full blown in anger right now. You could reach for blame, and that's going to make you feel better. So you could blame somebody for what happened, right? And that's going to make you feel better for a little while. But if you can rise to blame, then you can say, yeah, you know, it really wasn't their fault. And I can maybe move up to disappointment because I can take some responsibility for my piece of it or something that happened, or I can at least let it go. And I can now just be in disappointment. And then from disappointment, you can say, well, yeah, I can just kind of be bored with it. I can just kind of be, yeah, whatever. Yeah, that's so-so. I'm okay. But then from there, you have the opportunity to find hope.
Mm-hmm.
And look at how far you've come from anger.
Long ways.
It's a long ways. And if you actually look at this, a majority of these are what we call medium to low energies, because this is where most people live.
Mm-hmm.
Most people live their lives in the medium to low range. And they don't even know it. They just accept that they're feeling angry all the time. They accept that they're feeling overwhelmed all the time. They accept that they're pessimistic. They even call themselves, oh, I'm a pessimist. I just, everything, I look at the world and the glass is half empty. That's where most people live. But it's a choice. You now have that choice. And we can work to move up that scale and live in that high flying area. Like you said, high flying. I love it. That awesome ecstasy, joy empowered, loving place. Now, it doesn't mean we're going to stay there every moment of every day. But if we live in optimism, for the most part, and something happens, we might dip down to disappointment. But it's going to take something really, really, really big to knock us all the way down.
Right. It's the same process
The
as
same
going
process
up. It's
going up as
also
it is
hard to
coming
get
down.
down.
It's harder to get down.
Because you're always in a positive mode.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And so unless something really comes along and you are willing to allow it to take you down,
Mm-hmm.
it will take you down. But if you say, wow, this really, quote, horrible thing happened, I can choose how I want to feel about it.
Right.
I can choose to be fearful or depressed. I can choose to be angry. I can choose to blame somebody for it. Or I can choose to stay in hopefulness.
Mm-hmm.
I can choose to stay in optimism and see that this is an opportunity to grow or an opportunity for me to shift in some way. Or if nothing more, it is something that they need to deal with. It's not my business.
Mm-hmm.
And that is so hard because we want to fix things. We want to help people. We want to get into other people's business.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens is when we do that, we lose center here.
And oftentimes it doesn't even help them.
And it doesn't help them.
They just don't want the help is the problem.
A lot of times they don't.
They really don't.
Yeah.
They've gotten to where they love that attention they get in that world.
Yep.
Because I've tried this like numerous times with people who were really down, and it seemed to help for a little bit, but the general effect was no help really. They go right back into it.
They do. And then what happened to you?
Well, it brought me down a little, and I didn't. But I recovered.
You do, but why put yourself in that position?
Right.
Why allow yourself to feel badly because of somebody else?
Yeah, it doesn't help.
It really doesn't. It really doesn't. And in fact, what I have found is that when I stay in my high-flying area, even when someone is down or depressed or upset, whatever, wherever they are, even if they're angry, if I remain here, I have a better chance of helping them to shift because I'm not coming down to their level and commiserating with them. I am staying here and they can choose to rise up and meet me, or they will go away.
Right. You're more like a guiding light. If they want to come to the light, they can.
They can. That's right. Absolutely. But your guiding light stays strong for you. Stays strong for you. Beautiful. All right. So we talked a little bit about that. It's a choice, that our feelings are actual choices. And a lot of people really don't understand that. They'll say, oh, no, you know, I just feel what I feel. It is what it is. No, we've been taught that. We've been taught that our feelings are not our own, that our feelings are not choices. And that's wrong. Everything that we have is our choice. And if we take responsibility for ourselves, then we can choose and create the life that we desire. We can choose that authentic life. We can choose to live in that high-flying area as much as we can.
Yeah, Tony Robbins talks about that too in Unlimited Power. How we choose how we're going to react to everything.
Absolutely.
And we can choose bad things or good things. It's really our choice.
Yeah.
And the same thing gets presented at 10 people. They're all going to make different decisions on how to react to it.
That's right.
And
one of the most powerful stories I've heard is from a survivor of one of Auschwitz, the concentration camp. And he said, you know, they could do what they wanted to my body, but they could not touch my soul. And that is what got him through, was that no matter what they did, no matter what pain he endured, no matter what sickness he had, they could not touch what was inside here. And he held on to that. And he took responsibility for the way he felt. And he treated the guards with respect. And he learned how to communicate with them so that they eventually did treat him better. And that's how he got through. Because his higher self stood in that place of empowerment and took responsibility for what he could. Anything else that was outside of his control, he had to let go of. And that included his own body. But he did it. And so many times we forget that we are in control of what we can control. And anything else is not for us to even go with.
I think the Irish prayer is something like that. God, help me control the things I can and release the things I can't, or something like that.
Very cool. So as part of the emotional scale, the thing that we can take from this is that we always have the opportunity and the choice to choose a better feeling, something that feels better. So even if you find yourself in one of those lower feeling areas, you can say, you know, I don't want to be here. This doesn't feel good. And think about something. It doesn't even have to be related to the situation, but what is something that is going to help me feel better? Maybe it's that walk in nature. I just need to get out and clear my head. I need to shift my environment. I need to watch a funny YouTube video. You know, I need to listen to some music and let go of this situation. What is it going to do? How am I going to make myself feel better? And you don't have to go, like I said, you don't have to go high flying. But if you're in jealousy or hatred, even the feeling of revenge, just thinking, I'm going to get back at that person, that makes you feel that much better. And then from there, you shift again. Because obviously we don't want to stay in revenge.
If you stay in one of those too long, it's harder to get rid of.
It is. That's right. But now we have the power to recognize where we are and that we have the ability to choose. So that when we recognize, oh yeah, I'm feeling really angry. Okay, what's a better feeling? What is a better feeling? Well, a better feeling, I could at least worry about it instead of being angry about it.
I think it works the same. If you're up in the upper levels, it's also more difficult to pull you down because you're used to being there.
That's right.
And,
yeah.
So that also gives you that extra strength to hold on longer.
It does.
And so that's a good thing.
Very good point. All right. So we've talked about thoughts. We've talked about feelings. So the last component is our words. So as we take our thoughts, we feel what those thoughts feel like, and then we put them out into the world.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times we're not even aware of things that we say. So if you can think about something that maybe it's in the past that you used to say, or maybe it's something that you kind of describe about yourself or describe about the world, what is something that you say kind of on a regular basis?
I say I don't know a lot.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? Some people will say life is hard,
Mm-hmm.
or people suck,
Mm-hmm.
or I hate blah, 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 whatever it is.
Those are pretty negative things.
Sometimes we'll say, I have a friend who says things like, I'm old,
Mm-hmm.
and he's not. He's not. But he's not.
So about 30.
Anyone else? Anything
No,
that you
can't
said?
When I
anything.
travel, like when I'm towing a trailer, a lot of older women, a lot of women, I can't do that. Hell, you drive a car. Why can't, you know what I mean? That's the first thing. Oh, I can't do
I
that.
can't do that.
I'm like, yes, you can.
Yeah.
How'd you start driving the car? They start thinking, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you could.
Right.
I think
So-
society has
so
beaten
when-
women's confidence down as a general rule.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you stories after this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you're right. And when those words come out, that is a manifestation of their thoughts and their feelings about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So they have a belief that says, I'm not capable,
Mhm.
that as this person, whether it's a woman or whoever they are, that they are not capable of doing certain things,
Mhm.
that they shouldn't be capable of doing certain things.
And they're not even going to try.
And they're not even going to try because they're afraid. Their feeling is, I'm afraid to try because I don't want to fail. I don't want to look stupid. I don't want to fail and then show that I was right, that I couldn't do it. So it's easier just to say I can't do it rather than to fail at it. But that's how powerful our words are, because they come from our thoughts, which is our beliefs, the belief systems that we have about ourselves, about society, about other people, how we feel about it, and then it comes out as our words. And when I first met my husband, he would share this with me. I was very, very negative about my ex-husband. Very, very negative. And a lot of people would say rightly so. And he kept telling me, listen to your words. Just listen. That's, and he wasn't pushy about it. He wasn't judgmental about it, but just listen to your words. And it took me about a year for that to sink in. And then I started listening and I started feeling. It's like, I don't want to feel that way anymore. That's why I left the relationship. That's why I was done with the relationship. And yet I'm continuing now
to carry
it on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now I had to take my personal responsibility. And I had to learn how to do that. And that took about another year.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're 2 years into this. And about that time, things went really south with my ex-husband and me. And I went right back into that depression, that fear, that grief. Because I was still only right around doubt at that point in my journey, but this knocked me way down. And I had to remember, okay, I'm angry about this. I want to get revenge, blah, blah, blah. But, and I didn't even know any of this at that time, by the way.
Right.
And yet I had to stop and think, okay, how this hurts so much, but can I get past this? And it took another year of really working and letting go and understanding that I had no control over what he was going to do, what he was going to say, how he was going to behave, that I truly had to shift in here. And it's been 4.5 years now since I met my husband now. And in that process, I was able to truly let go of all of the anger, all of the pain, all of the judgment, the negativity about my ex-husband, to a place where I could be in his presence and not be fearful, not be angry, not be hurtful, and feel relaxed.
It was like you were pulling a little red wagon behind you full of all these
full
bad
of all
things.
this stuff. Yeah, the baggage. Oh, it wasn't a little red wagon. It was, the monster bus,
Yeah.
full of all this stuff that I was driving, and it was loading me down. It really was loading me down. And when I let go of that freedom and that feeling of harmony and lightness was so amazing, that I could be in his presence and I could be cheerful and I could be genuine. And however he reacted, which was usually ignoring me, not even acknowledging me in front of our daughter, that it was, okay, well, whatever, that's you. It's you, that's not me. I can be cheerful. I can, acknowledge you and wish you a good day and all that. And it truly was a transformation, and it freed me. It freed me in a way I never thought possible, because I took responsibility for me and I let go of my responsibility of him. And so many times, whether it's our parents, whether it's a relationship, whether it's our children, whether it's our best friends, our boss, whoever, that we take on these responsibilities of how someone else feels or someone else is thinking or what we do and how it impacts them. Screw that. I need to do what's good here. And if it's not good out there, then we're not a match and I need to move on to something else. And so it was really thinking about my words, because my words were that manifestation of everything that was going on internally. And once I started recognizing those words and really listening to those words, I could work backwards and shift internally. But so many times we're not even aware. And it takes someone else sometimes to tell us, oh, do you hear yourself? Do you hear what you just said? Is that really what you want to say? Yeah, my husband just did that the other day. I got really frustrated at something, and I just got this totally frustrated tangent. And he came back to me and said, do you hear yourself? I went, yes, okay, you're right. Pull back, shift. Maybe I just need to let this go for a little while, go do something else, and then come back, sleep on it. Sometimes a good night's sleep, you got to come back to it and just let it go. And however it's going to play out, it'll play out and it'll be good. And that's what I had to do. And it is, but those words are so critical, because that's that manifestation of everything that's internal. So when we start listening to our words and listen to other people's words, when we hear other people's words, how does it feel to be around them? Do we want to be around someone who's constantly negative, who's constantly complaining, who's self-deprecating, who's, just their view on life is not where you are.
Right.
And so that's where you need to also start making those choices as to what feels good for you, what feels best for you, what environment, what's going to be your harmony.
She was saying,
That's fine.
she mentioned that she says, I don't know a lot. And I was thinking, I think for me a long time ago, I don't know used to be negative. But now I have no problem telling people I don't know. But then I'm like, but I could find out. Because with the internet, I can find out almost anything.
That's
you
right.
know, so the I don't know to me is not negative, because now I'm nosy. You know, so it's actually an opportunity for me. And then I come back, girl, did you know the hippo? So I don't know, but now I want to, since you mentioned it.
There
So
you
for
go.
me, the I don't know is a positive, because now I'm gonna find out.
Excellent.
So that is not a negative to me. I mean,
Right.
most people don't know anything anyway. That's why you Google it.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And again, it's also your perception about the word. So it's not just what the words are, but it's how you
Right.
feel about it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So for you, when you say, I don't know, that's actually empowerment for you.
Yeah.
That feels like, hey, there's something I don't know. I can figure it out. I can go find out.
Mhm.
For someone else, the I don't know might be a way to cover,
It shuts them
gee,
down.
I'm insecure. And I'm
kind of
not
that
feeling,
fear of
it's
failure
that
type
fear of
thing.
failure, or that concept of, wow, I really don't know. Maybe I should know. Why don't I know? But now, it's kind of that, well, I don't know. Or it's a concept of indecision.
Yeah.
Do I
I get
not
stuck
know?
there. Yeah.
Do I really not know? And what do I need to do to figure it out? Whether it's an internal I don't know, or a concept I don't know.
Mhm.
And so along that journey, it's figuring out for you, what are your words saying? How do you feel about them? Thinking back to, where do they come from? So they come from our thoughts,
Yeah.
right? So what are our thoughts telling us? What are our belief systems telling us about ourselves, or about the world, or about whatever it is? And then you get to shift that. You get to change that, because again, we talked about in the beginning, the environment, the parents, everything is influencing us to think what we're supposed to think. But it's not always what's best for us.
You might
But yet we accept it as truth. And we try to fit ourselves into those boxes and into someone else's concept of what they think I should be, rather than truly being the authentic self that we are.
It could be that you maybe used that expression because you didn't want to continue a conversation with someone. And then you're just done, kind of. It like finishes everything. And
I was thinking in the context of relationships. Like, sometimes I'll say it to actually give my power and my decision making to someone else, because
Mhm.
I don't want it, or I don't feel secure about that.
right.
Right. And again, it's the awareness of why you're doing it. That is the most important thing. And then you get to choose to say, do I really want to give my power to someone else? Do I really want someone else making decisions for me? Sometimes in the moment, if it's, where do you want to go to dinner? I don't know. You choose.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that big a deal, right? So they choose, you go, it's fun. If it's on a bigger scale, if it's on something that's really going to impact your life, where should I live?
Mm-hmm.
What career should I have? How should I conduct myself in a relationship?
Big things.
Those
shouldn't-
are things that are your decisions. And if you're giving your power away, then you have locked yourself into being and behaving in a way that someone else wants you to. And when you don't, they will get angry at you. And they will start to impact you in a way that shuts you down, because you're not meeting the expectations that they have that you gave to them.
I was thinking about what you said about the women who didn't want to try to pull a trailer because they were afraid they couldn't do it.
We didn't even get that far.
Didn't even get that
Oh, I couldn't do that.
Well, I was thinking some of us are immune to that fear of failure because if you're blind, everybody expects you to fail anyway. And if you get it right, hey.
But I was thinking about what you said also, and sometimes, but I think more so in my past, I would say I don't know, but what I'm really saying is I need more time to think about it.
Mm,
So now
yeah,
I've
that's
definitely
true, too.
transitioned into, well, I need to think about that. And give yourself some time to think about it, really.
Mhm.
Well, what do you want to do for dinner? I don't know. I'll get back to you. I mean, give yourself, because sometimes when you say you don't know, then I'm going to choose. Like my mom, we would have this weekly date. Oh, Lord, this is being recorded. Anyway, so every time I say, well, where are we going to? I don't know. And so then I'm well, do you want this? Do you want that? Do you want that? No. So now every time I would say, well, where do you want to go? I don't, okay, good. We're going for sushi. Well, every week ago, because I'm a big sushi person.
Nice.
So she got sick of that. So next thing, I want to go here. She didn't care. She would just throw out, I want a steak. Or she did it. She knew. Because like you said, you gave up the power. So you gave up the power. You
Yeah.
don't know, but I
Yeah.
do.
That's right.
So I took it.
Yeah, that's right. And a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And then the
We're
person,
not going to stand here.
right? But the person who gives up the power, like
Then
you
she said
mentioned,
she didn't want to
it's
go.
like, well, I don't want that.
Right.
But you said you didn't know, you didn't care.
Right.
You gave the power up
To me.
Yeah.
So now you can, exactly.
Yeah.
She learned that lesson after about a month. I don't want to go. Well, if you don't know, so the next time I would call her, she would just have a list of restaurants. Okay. We could get.
I want to go here, here, and here.
Right. But
Oh,
not,
but
definitely
not that.
there. Yeah. So maybe
Yeah.
you just need more time to
Oh.
think sometimes, and you're caught off guard.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe if you could think about, let me think about it. And there's nothing wrong with
There
that.
is
It kind of
nothing
Yes, it
wrong
might
with
not
that.
be
Why do you
negative
get
at all.
bothered?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Absolutely. And that is another way to take back your power
Mm-hmm.
to say, that's an interesting thought. Let me get back to you.
Mhm.
Let me think about that. And if it's a time frame, it's like, you know what? I'm going to take the next 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go figure out what I want, and then I'll be right back, and we'll go to dinner.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if it's something as simple as dinner,
Right.
obviously, if it's something bigger, you're going to need
Take
more
more
time. Take more time.
Yeah.
And you can set your deadlines. You know what? I need a week to think about that. I need 3 days. I need a month. Sometimes it's something so big you need even more time than that. So wonderful. Thank you for that. I very much appreciate that. So those are the 3 concepts that we have. We have our thoughts, our feelings, and our words. And those are the internal GPS system that then will guide us along where we want to go. And we'll talk about action at the next one when we talk about our personal greatness, which will be our next topic. But how those 3 manifest into our actions. So learning that we have to take responsibility here. We then will be able to move that forward. And, one of the things is that when I connect to my authentic self and I feel that high flying energy, is that the universe will then line up all the components of the things that I desire so that I then can create the life that I desire and I can thrive. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that we talk about here at BARDS is we connect, we create, we thrive. And so in thinking about that, I have some homework that I always assign to everybody as a way to just kind of keep you going throughout the time in between our meetings. At the last meeting, we had our meditation journal. Mm-hmm. And so we'll have more of that and continue working with that. And then with your emotional scale, is you can use the back of your meditation journal and kind of draw a line down the bottom or down the middle like we had here.
That includes a meditation. I love symphony.
And at the end of each day is have on one side physical self and on one side authentic self. Mm-hmm. And when you think about something that you said during that day that came from your physical self, it could have been something, let's see some of my examples. It could have just been something, like we said, life is hard, people suck, I hate, I don't know, whatever it is, something that you said during the day that sparked you, that you kind of thought, made you think. Mm-hmm. Write it down under your physical self. Mm-hmm. And then on the other side, write what you think your authentic self would have said instead.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
How would your authentic self have responded to whatever that situation or person or whatever it was that was said in that context? Because what that will do is it will help you to start thinking about what you're saying and how to say it differently. Mm-hmm. So that as you go through your days, and maybe it will only take a few days of doing this exercise, you're going to find yourself in the middle of a conversation and you're going to say something and you're going to go, let me rephrase that. And you rephrase it from your authentic self. Mm-hmm. And I highly encourage that, even in the middle of a conversation with somebody, if you say something that you catch yourself saying that doesn't feel good, and you catch it and you can reshift it and rephrase it right then and there, do it. Because number one, it will make you feel better in that moment. And it then gives the other person the opportunity to see your authentic self. So that's the homework assignment. And for next month, our topic is going to be creating your personal greatness. So we hope you will join us then. All of our materials will be listed in the description down below. And also, I highly encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and to our Facebook page, which is bardsociety.com. Or Bard Society on Facebook. You can also go to our website, www.bardsociety.com, and check out things there. I am also doing personal coaching. If you'd like coaching with Kat, then check us out on the website, and you can also email me at kat@bardsociety.com. And we look forward to seeing you next month. Cheers.